Hey, afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a good Monday thus far. We're off to a little bit of a later start than usual because I have a doctor's appointment that I just got back from. But today we're talking about work life balance and more specifically, thinking more thoroughly on that catchphrase. We've all probably heard folks say, yeah, you need to have good work life balance, but that's usually where the conversation stops. So let's actually talk about that and check it out. So I'm positive that everyone watching has heard of work life balance, has heard of the idea that you should do something else with your life besides work. That life should mean more than work, it should mean more than 80 hours a day spent in front of a computer. And you're going to also be very unhappy and unfulfilled if you try to live your life like that for so long. So many of us understand this, but I think where a lot of us stop the conversation is what to actually balance your work with. So let's take for a given in this particular talk here that you have a job where you can work, let's say 40 hours, 50 hours a week, and then maybe occasionally work some extra long hours if there's a project coming up, about to 60 or 65 hours a week, right? So let's say that you have a good gig. You've established that it's possible to have a work-life balance. And now that you have this opportunity, what do you do with that? This is where most people stop the conversation, and it looks something like this. Okay, I have a 40-hour work week. The weekend rolls around. I haven't really thought about anything that I'm doing. And so I kind of just don't know what I'm doing. I'm aimless for 2 days, and then I go back to work. A lot of us, I think, end up in that situation, and myself included. I've definitely been like that before. But that doesn't balance out your work. As a matter of fact, I think that if you don't look at your off time just as intentionally as your on time, that can also lead to burnout eventually as well. And that can also lead to you not living your best life. So let's talk about that off time. Let's talk about how to get beyond work-life balance. Takeaway number 1, understand the nature of your work. I think all of us can imagine this whole stereotype, this motif of a brilliant computer programmer who is just terrible at social events, who has no emotional sensitivity or no sort of subtlety in the way that they understand people. And the reason why is because everything they do all day is logically based. In other words, the nature of their work is such that they're always stuck in this logic mode, this computer programming mode. And if you never break out of that, then all the other parts of your brain never get exercised. And over the course of many years, if you don't balance the nature of your work, then that can lead to, let's say, your stereotypical awkward programmer who doesn't really understand or get along with people very well. Now, the programmer is very obvious, right? We all can easily see that scenario. But this also happens in other subtle ways with other professions as well. Let's take, for instance, the businessman who is very extroverted, who goes out and is always meeting with clients, but doesn't take any time for self-reflection, doesn't take any time for introspection. Or, you can also say that for people that work in front of a computer, if you do nothing else but sit in front of a computer and you don't do anything else physically with your body and you don't exercise and you don't really balance out the nature of your work, then over time, over the long run, those bad habits, or I guess the lack of balance, will accumulate and cause you to burn out. So that means you need to understand the nature of your work. Does your work require you to be hyper-logical all day? Does your work require you to be extroverted all day, or to, let's say, always be sitting in front of a computer? What are the various things that you need to identify that need to be balanced? Because if you don't understand what those things are, then you won't know how to balance them. Many people, they think it's okay just to order Chipotle every day for lunch and not work out and, slam down 3,000 calories a day. They end up being overweight. They end up being sore across their entire body because it's just decaying, essentially. And they end up burning out, let's say, within 5 to 10 years. So if you're somebody who really cares about staying in the game over the long haul, you really need to understand the nature of your work. And if you don't understand the nature of your work, then you also won't understand what needs to be balanced. So that's the first thing. Identify for you, with your particular job or with whatever you do for 8+ hours a day, what needs to be balanced. Takeaway number 2, think about your off time ahead of time. So like I said before, if let's say you get to the weekends and you haven't thought ahead of time on things that you could do, well, what will probably happen is you'll probably just basically wander and be a zombie for 2 days. You might, watch TV. You might, try to call up a couple people, but not really do anything. And I think that also comes with anxiety because you also have to kind of face this weird existential problem of what is my life outside of work? If you haven't thought about that, then I think that you'll eventually face that existential issue and that'll stress you out and you're not really going to be resting even though you are. And you kind of feel weird, you feel a little depressed, maybe a little bored. It's all because you haven't thought about your off time ahead of time. You're not living intentionally. And if you think that it's a good idea just to play video games and watch TV and chill for those 2 days, then you're wrong because you don't have anything that energizes you in a different way. So for instance, if you're not doing something that energizes you, if you're not doing something besides resting, watching TV, playing video games, whatever, then you're not allowing yourself to be charged up with fresh new energy that then you can take to your work come Monday morning. So again, this is just really the importance of having things thought of ahead of time. And you don't have to have a calendar for this either. I just have kind of a general sense of things I want to do. Maybe I want to work out. Maybe have a drink with friends. Maybe watching TV is something I could do part of the time. Maybe playing music is something that I can do. The point is that I have options that I've thought of ahead of time for that weekend, and I'm being intentional rather than aimless and semi-depressed. And then takeaway number 3, do those things which counterbalance the nature of your work. So again, we've talked about the idea that hey, if you work in front of a computer all day, that you should probably move your body around. You should probably do something to counterbalance the nature of you sitting down all day. Or if you do something logical, you should do something that's not very logical, or at least engage the parts of your mind in some kind of way that programming does not typically engage. So I'll keep picking on our programmer friends here for a minute. One of the best things I think a programmer can do is theater. Why is that? Because theater is all about emotional expression. It's all about everything that computer programming is pretty much not. It's about understanding the human experience. It's about understanding drama and being able to express yourself and use different sorts of tonality in your voice. And it's all about fluidity, right? These sort of things directly combat the rigid, logical mindsets that I think many of us don't even realize we are in because we do it all day. And by recognizing that this activity balances the parts of the brain that you don't use as much, then I think it exercises your entire brain in such a way that it makes you a more balanced person over the long haul. Or perhaps another thing that you could try doing is instead of sitting down in front of a computer all day, during the weekends, you can have a day where you don't do anything computer related. Maybe you bike around, you work out, you do something that is in the complete opposite direction of sitting down in front of a computer. And even if you did that just for one day, that could drastically change the quality of your life. in such a way that you are a new person eventually because of the fact that you are now balancing out those qualities which need to be balanced out. Some of these ideas sound obvious and it's easier said than done, but here's the thing. We also have to watch out for us self-sabotaging ourselves for those things that we know are going to balance us. Maybe one reason why you don't go out and you bike in nature is because you're afraid that you'll love it so much that you won't want to go back to your desk and, program computers anymore. Well, that's probably an indication that that is exactly the kind of balance you need to live a happy life. But you really have to catch yourself and you really have to almost monitor yourself as if you are not you. Try to take care of yourself as if you're taking care of somebody else. And basically put, if you do that, then you're going to be able to create those habits which break you free of the ruts that we dig for ourselves. So again, watch out for self-sabotaging. Also watch out for blaming your employers, your clients, your work for the reasons that you are unhappy. If you're not happy with clients or work or whatever it is, then just leave. Leave and enjoy your life and find new clients. There's other people out there that you can find win-win situations with and make better business with. So I would just encourage everyone watching to have the courage to recognize these areas that need to be balanced. Don't put the blame on other people and take responsibility for your happiness. That's the only way you're going to be happy as an adult. So, in conclusion, you have the ability to balance out your life. If you want work-life balance, think about the balance. Don't be unintentional about what that means, because you're only one step in that direction if you've, let's say, found a way to have the hours in the day for balance. But actually enacting balance is where most people fail. And I hope that you do this, because not only is your happiness going to be better, but everyone else's happiness is going to be better, because if more people focused on that balance, then all of us would be able to create better business with our colleagues. We wouldn't allow bad business to exist as easily. And it's really that which makes a better world. And again, it starts with you. It starts with your individual decisions. So I hope that you end up taking responsibility and making that happen. All right. So, I fully believe everything I just said. I think it's very important that we all do that. And anyway, if you guys have questions, feel free to add them in. I'm this week up to creating new courses. So if you have any suggestions, by the way, on courses that you would like to see, let me know. I'm moving beyond this beginner stuff from the Houdini for the New Artist series onto more your average Houdini user and what might benefit them. A few ideas in the burner right now would be doing some videos on, let's say, reviewing the Houdini Hive, going through all the different lectures and summarizing that. Another idea is finishing off lighting techniques, going for large pyro explosions and destruction too. So those are all kind of things that I'm considering, but I would love to also hear your feedback if you have any. Let's see, besides that, I'm also trying to build out my social media stuff. So CG Forge 3D on Instagram, Tyler Bay LinkedIn, Facebook is CG Forge, and Twitter, CG Forge 3D. So, with that all being said, thank you for watching. Shout out to Angela, and I will see you guys later.